right, well, let's get started then, okay? So welcome to the first episode of Coaches on Couches. My name is John Min. I own a gym called MAGMA in Hillsborough, New Jersey. I'm also part of the USECA, United States Elite Coaches Association, video and lecture manager. So what I do is I go to congresses and special lectures and special events, and I videotape and I speak to clinicians. And we get information to share with coaches throughout our country through our video program and our online website and our newsletter. So if you are interested, please look us up. Today we have a wonderful panel. I'd like to briefly introduce everyone. Our subject will be on online coaching, the do's and don'ts. Once again, this panel is extensive. The four of them combined have probably over 100 years worth of gymnastics experience, working with all levels from beginners to elites to world champions, Olympic champions, national champions, level 9, 10, basically everyone. So first of all, we have Lee Tracy. She's from Cincinnati Gymnastics Academy. She's the president, owner, head coach over there in Ohio, representing Region 5. Next, we have Lindsey Stancil from X-Cel Gymnastics, the Exquisite program, out in Pennsylvania, Region 7. Then we have a good friend named Craig Tetreault, JNR Gymnastics in Texas, Region 3. Then we have Pat Goldsmith from Niagara Gymnastics, New York, Region 6. So as you can see, we have 4 very strong regions all represented here. A couple of real quick online panel protocols, please, just to make this move quicker and smoother, since our panelists are only here for an hour. Please make sure your sound is on mute and your video is off the entire time. Only the hosts and panelists will speak live. If you have any questions, please chat them directly to John Min or Pat Goldsmith. We will stay on topic. So if our topic is online coaching gymnastics, that's what we will stay on. The episode is recorded and will be posted online at a later date for everyone to watch. Thank you very much. Next week, we have some other esteemed guests, but not to steal the thunder of the first guest. We'll discuss that later at the end. All right, so once again, let's start. I'm going to look through some of the questions. Hello, once again. So real quickly, I'd like to ask the panelists, basically, what online approaches are you doing for your team and your rec kids right now? Who wants to chime in?
I could start. I, at this point, am not doing any charging. I am doing all of everything that we do at this point is still a no charge. So every week every day of every week, we are putting out something for our rec kids, something for our teen kids, and all of the head coaches are required to do 2 Zoom sessions a week and send out training plans to our kids. So that's what we're doing right now.
Lindsey?
I can go next. We started our whole team on about 50% of their training. So I'm coaching like 22 hours on Zoom with the team kids. And everyone has their own group still. So it just depends on what you do. Like my day today, I had 6 hours of Zoom sessions. And then I have 500 kids enrolled in my rec preschool cheer and ninja on Zoom. And they're signed up through camps on iClass Pro. But starting May 1st, we will clear out our class program. We will re-register them, and we will start charging for these Zoom classes. And then similar, I'm putting out like a free quick tip video every 2 days for everybody. We have like a ninja video, a cheer video, a bridge video, whatever. But right now we're also running for free. And I think that's why my rec numbers are so high. And my goal is to hopefully capture them and have them pay in May and that first part of June to be prepared for when we can reopen.
Wonderful. What about you, Craig?
Yes, we have a nominal fee for April, and we're hoping to potentially get started here in May as long as the things are getting a little bit lighter. But daily we have a workout for kids. We're using a band map for our team kids, so that any announcements that we want to have for team, we'll use the band map. And we post workouts daily for them, and they can check in on the band app and give a thumbs up. Just say that they've completed that workout. Also for their monthly fee, we're also doing 2 or 3 Zoom classes a week for them, and it can be shaping, bar conditioning, that type of thing. So I know that the kids are staying busy, and we're trying to get together some smaller group just to get together and talk and just have a little bit more social interaction between the coaches and the kids, just to see how they're doing. And we do that by levels.
Wonderful. What about you, Pat?
Currently, I'm doing about 15 hours of team Zoom training a week. We do pre-recorded rec classes that are about 30 to 60 minutes that the rec students receive for free. We will be switching over to doing half-price tuition for our team athletes if they are able to afford it, and if they're not, it's fine. They can still participate in everything. And that's pretty much what we've been doing.
All right, excellent, excellent. Okay, I do have some questions from some of our spectators, audiences. So one of the questions was, in what safe manner can you introduce more advanced skills, technical skills for especially your competitive gymnasts? Would you mind answering that, Mary? Oh, your audio, please. Your audio's off. There you go. Right. Mary, I can't hear you. Oh, there you go.
Okay, I'm good. All right. So I guess pretty much what we're doing is with the higher level kids is they're getting individual workouts. So we're putting out blanket workouts for all of our JO kids, but then our fast track kids and our elite kids. So let's say I'll just use bars since that's usually the most challenging one. I've put some stuff up on the Cincinnati Gymnastics website of like how to do routines and drills for the skills. So like if you have hacks, and even if you're using your bed, they're giving Shushanova drills on the bed, jump to candles for the giant. So it's like kind of like what you do when your athletes are injured. You create a routine based on the muscles that are activated for the skills and create things to make it feel like whether you're trying to keep your kids, because elite kids and hopes kids don't know whether their season's done yet or not. That has been postponed with not any kind of determination on that yet. So we are staying in half routine shape at this point by doing actual routines with drills for the skills. It's very easy if in your mind you just close your eyes and you see the skill. It's pretty easy to create individual training for each athlete.
Very good. Lindsey, would you like to answer?
Yeah, sure. We're actually doing something super similar to that. I totally agree. You can break down every single skill. So we've been like today, the level 10s had to do 6 routines. They did like a mental set, and then they did what I would call a physical routine. So they did their kip drill, then they did a cast handstand from their knees. Then they did they went over to a wall and they did handstand, fall to their push-up position for their pack. And then we broke the pack down into 3 different things. So like I guess what I did is I looked at the beginning, the middle, the end of the skill. Then I broke down the beginning to 3 things, the middle to 3 things, the end to 3 things, and how can you do small either conditioning or like Riley said, like jump to candles to mimic those skills. So they did a routine, then mental routine. We're doing the same thing on vault bars, beam. Beam is easy, beam they can just do beam. But yeah, for bars and vault, we're doing the same thing. They're running, they're hurdling, they're needle kicking, they're cartwheel foot footing, they're holding their shape, seeing the hand mat, doing the arch back, doing some snap drills.
Wonderful. Pat or Craig, do you guys want to input anything?
Yeah, sure. I totally agree. I've just been trying to think about how I can break down the skill as much as possible, so it's as simple as possible for them to do in their home. And maybe I can't mimic every single action in the skill, but anything I can think of, like Mary Lee said, like jump to candlestick on the bed. Like we had kids doing like the push-up position, donkey kick, toe on, seat drop on their bed the other day. It was actually, some of them using the headboard. It was kind of funny. But it worked well though. And so it's like you have to be creative with it and consider what they have. So in my Zoom workouts, if I'm like, okay guys, we're gonna do, I don't know, let's say a 3/4 back extension roll. Like I have them show me what they have available in the room with them and what they're going to be using, so that they're not making inappropriate choices, especially with the optional kids, because they don't have like parent supervision. Like when I have level 2s do their online Zoom workout, the parents are in the room with them helping out and stuff. But the optional kids, I check them one by one usually.
Very good. Very good. So another question is, what kind of accountability or attendance, or do you make it mandatory or optional? How do you deal with that and keeping track of your students' progress and attendance, Mary?
We take attendance. So whether we're doing a Zoom class for ballet, for yoga, sports psych, the coaches that are doing those are taking attendance. And the purpose of the attendance is just for our use. If a parent says, why has she not done this? Why isn't we say, well, we offered these free Zoom classes and they didn't attend. But also it's, I mean, that's the backup part of it. But also it holds the kids accountable if you tell them you're taking attendance. So for example, we'll say like with our 7 through 10, they have to do one of the 2 dance classes a week. They're required to do 1 yoga class, 1 of the 2 sports psych, and then they have to send in their workouts with little check marks by the times that they did those. My optional coaches right now are doing an amazing job. I'm fortunate enough that I'm still able to do some training in the gym. So I'm able to bring 2 of my elite kids in the gym because my community Fairfield police, they drive by and stop in and watch and say hi. So I have people in the gym, a couple people at a time in the gym cleaning. And then, you know, I'm in there, you know, 5 days a week coaching.
Great. That's great.
I'm fortunate. I know that because I know a lot of people have the same restrictions, but they're held way more accountable to those restrictions. And I'm in a small community and they're supporting what I'm doing.
What about you, Lindsey? Are you doing the same thing with attendance?
Yeah, we're taking attendance through iClass Pro. So because I structured the team workouts based on their previous time, so if they trained Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday at 4 o'clock, their class starts at 4 o'clock, and maybe only goes for an hour and a half, not 4 hours. So we're just taking attendance through iClass Pro just like that. Same thing with the classes; they had to get on our portal and sign our waiver to enroll, and so every virtual class has an attendance sheet.
What about?
And we've had 100% attendance from the team. But
oh, wonderful.
I didn't really give them a choice. Like I made this, not gonna lie, like I made a Zoom time frame and I said, this is your schedule. And then I just sent it to them and no one said anything. They just did it.
And they're not paying, right? This is free?
This is all free right now, which is a whole heck of a lot for free. But because of it, I did have a lot of parents step up and give me all of April and May's tuition.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Wow.
What about you, Craig? Any attendance?
We're doing it similar, taking attendance is similar. Like I said before, when the kids are done with their Zoom workout, on the band app, they just put a thumbs up that they've done it. And sometimes their parents are there. There was one time a kid had taken a picture of their mom down at the bottom of the driveway on the ground. She was going with her. But anyway, that's how they're checking in.
How about you, Pat?
We take attendance for all of our Zoom workouts, and it's helpful to see really who's showing up, who's not showing up, and for any future things which might arise, like Mary was saying, if they're not if they come back and let's say they are struggling, you can say, hey, well, you know what, we were here offering all this stuff for free for all this time, and like Lindsey said, it really is quite a lot. And we have had parents come up to us too, and they're like, can we please pay you for this? Like, because they appreciate the normalcy it gives the kids, and letting the kids experience the sport they love, spend time with their friends. So I think it's great for record keeping and just any future things you might need it for.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. And you were mentioning before, Mary, that you said you have your individual coaches kind of taking care of their groups, or is it more of a general overall plan? Like, does everyone kind of work in conjunction, or do certain coaches that are assigned to that group, they're in charge of those Zooms?
So right now, as of April 1st, my coaches are all paid because I got that small business loan. So right now, every head coach gathers the information from their coaches at their level. So there's a level 3, a level 4, blah, 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 head coach. The head coach does her own workouts with the assistance of her coaches. So like say at level 3, there's a bar coach, a beam coach, a floor coach. There's 3. They write the workouts for the week, send them to the head coach distributes them. Some of them do them videos, some of them doing written workouts, but I leave that up to their own creativeness and their relationship with the kids. But so like my daughter, who's the head coach at level 9 and 10, she gives a general direction, and then everybody plays off based on knowing their kids and knowing their situation.
Lindsey?
So we started off with lesson plans that were distributed by us. So everyone was doing the same thing. So 7, 8, 9, 10 was doing the same conditioning and similar lesson plan. And then Paul's 3 was. That was the first 2 weeks. And after the first 2 weeks, we kind of went to a situation more similar to Mary Lee's, where now everyone's handling their own stuff. They've figured out how to train at home, and they're really tailoring it to their group in front of them.
Very good, very good. Real quick, a question that's been popping up quite often is, how do you deal with the liability or any other functions of the insurance side? Mary?
I'm not. I'm enjoying reading what people are saying, and I feel like every day the people I converse with or the webinars I go on, I learn something new every day that I didn't think of doing. I feel like because when we send these things out, when the head coaches, it is sent to the parents at the same time. It is in their home. So, I mean, I'm not an attorney, obviously. So I feel like when it's sent to the parents and along with the kids that have email addresses, they then become responsible as to whether they want their kids to do it. It's in their home. But I might need to look into it, but I'm not planning on doing this. Like I hear some of you, I'm looking at where you're from, different parts of the country. I see why you're looking for things that could go till June and July. You know, here I am planning for doing phase 1 and getting into phase 2 by mid-May and being in phase 3. And the phase is of course based on what Trump said, and being in phase 3 in June. And I feel like, you know, if I have to back up a 2-week period because the numbers didn't go the right direction, you know, then I'll back up. But I have my plan for the comeback of every level from May 1st all the way through July 1st. So I've got everything ready, and I'm kind of like that. But I also figure that if I make it flexible enough in my process, that it's like, oh, sorry, you know, the governor said this, because it's not even just what Trump said, it's what your governor said, you know? So a governor now can not override, but I guess override the president. And if he says your state is open and the president or the governor says, no, it's not, the governor rules. So I have my plan ready. I'm not planning on this virtual stuff long. I'm planning on getting our kids back in the gym, starting at basically 1/3 of their hours to start with.
Oh, that's very interesting. 1/3. That's it. Now, how did you come by that number?
So I calculated. So what I did is I went by the first thing. The way we went into this, if you remember, we went first. It was 100 in a gathering, 50 in a gathering, 10 in a gathering. You know, when we went down, but that was in like a week. I think this isn't going to go as fast. So when I bring the kids back in May, and I'm starting with team only, and I am adhering to 10 to 15 kids in the gym. I also read all the stuff about the ratios that Kroger and Walmart are using, which is 5 people to every 1,200 is Kroger and 1,000 is Walmart. And so I'm doing 1 kid per 1,000 square feet. So I'm way under that. And it puts a maximum 20 kids in my facility at 20 people. So I'm allowing for an office person, 2 coaches, blah, 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 to keep it to 20 or under for the first 2 weeks in the gym. So there was a thought process, which comes out to about 1/3 of their hours. So like example, our level 9s and 10s usually train 22 hours, and they're starting off at 8.
Wow. All right. How about you, Pat? Are you deciding what kind of a phase back you'll have?
We've talked about doing similar things. There was a webinar earlier by USAG where they discussed it, and we are thinking about having very reduced numbers, spreading the kids out throughout the gym so that there's social distancing going on in that manner as well. We are planning on having our team athletes return first, but the only issue for us is that we're in New York State, and even though we're like 6 hours from New York City, it doesn't really matter because the governor governs the state as a whole, and Although a lot of his reactions are based on what's going on there, they affect us as well. And so I think it may last a bit longer here than in some of the other places. So we are planning to be ready for when it changes. And if it doesn't change, which I don't think it will change too soon, we're just going to keep doing our online training and doing the best we can with that.
Good plan.
Yeah.
How about you, Lindsey? What are your plans?
My plans are pretty similar to Pat's because I think that we're in the same boat because of Philadelphia. Philadelphia, New Jersey, and New York are all kind of in the same problem zone. So I called FOI, which is my insurance carrier, right away and said I'd like to start doing online classes. Do I have an option to change my insurance policy? And they worked with me and we did. And then I went to my lawyer and we drafted an online waiver and put that as part of our, through iClass Pro, they can register online. So they have to check that off. But Mary Lee is not wrong. So something that my lawyer had said was, it's very similar to the kids viewing a YouTube video, a how-to at home. Or if you want to learn plumbing and you go to YouTube, she's not wrong. You take on that liability. And so, but I was just a little bit nervous. I get a little bit antsy and jumpy. So I wanted a waiver. However, it's just like Peloton or any of these other things. People have been very unsuccessful suing anyone like that. I think the only way we're going to get in trouble is if you start encouraging parents to spot their kids at home on skills they're not ready for. I think that would be the only situation in which you could really end up in trouble.
Yeah, that would be a no-no for me. No parent spot.
So other than that, they really are, by viewing the video or by taking the class itself and participating in their own home, they're assuming the risk. However, we still did, the waiver. As far as going back, I think that I'll continue some sort of hybrid situation. I also agree with Pat. We're under a stay-at-home till the 15th, and then after that, I think our governor will be evaluating. He's been very conservative, and Western Pennsylvania has had very, very low numbers, thankfully. But I don't want to turn into Philadelphia, so I'm just going to support whatever he does, because why not? What's the point in being angry about it anyway? So we'll go back kind of in a hybrid situation where we'll continue all the flexibility and dance classes and conditioning at home. And then same thing, we'll be coming in for a reduced hour for only gymnastics training. That's it. So they'll condition on Zoom, they'll come in the gym, they'll train gymnastics, and then they'll go home. And that will actually, we're not too far off of Mary Lee's numbers, reduce their training time significantly. I was thinking about, maybe 2 hours in the gym max those first couple weeks back. Daily,
I completely agree with that. I think it's going to be so important to keep those kids safe and healthy with their flexibility, their conditioning level, even I think their social level. They have not been distracted by, the other friends in the gym. They've been able to be a lot more attentive, a lot more independent. I think there's some blessings that are coming with this for sure. But I know that we downgraded our groups to 3 small groups in the gym, 2 different ends of the gym. We washed hands in between, clean the vents, that type of thing, and then rotated. So that was something we did on the way down, and we'll probably do something similar on the way in. As far as classes, I know one of the ideas that we came up with was, a potential for a 10-minute starting time. Just do a rotation around the gym. Where one of those blocks, there's actually 2 people cleaning equipment, so the equipment gets cleaned about every hour as the kids go out the back door, and that'll limit the number of people in the front part of the gym in the lobby area, and kids will just start. 60 minutes later, they're out the back door. Different perspective on it.
I wanted to add something, Patrick. I'm not sure that what you were referring to is the webinar that was on today about coming back or returning to gym, but it was put on by USAG. If you didn't listen to that, I know it was recorded, as most things are now. It was amazing. I think it's a little bit it gives you overboard ideas to pick and choose from. So it went on everything that you should do and possibly do, because here's the thing. If someone comes in your gym or turns you in, like let's just say you said you were going to have hand sanitizer at every event and you don't, and someone sees that, they can then turn you into the health department and this can all go bye-bye. So I think it's really important that, you know, I mean, if you, some of this stuff is not fun for me to sit and listen to. I'd have a lot better things to do, but I'm doing it because of the uncharted waters part of this that we don't know. But the one today, I mean, I had, you know, I was taking notes and I had a huge list of things to do. One of the things we're doing in our seating area, obviously we're going to ask people to not to do as little observation as possible, because then you got the safe sport issues on top of this. You can't say absolutely no observation. So we're going to put, we have like these kind of like wooden bleachers all the way across the one side of the gym with open observation. And we're going to put X's 6 feet apart in the bleachers where people are allowed to sit if they come in. We're going to have arrows on the floor for the direction of entering and exiting. We're going to put paint lines on the parking lot outside of the gym. It talked a lot about in this seminar about traffic flow. And then like say a workout was going to go from 1 to 4 and the next workout used to overlap at 3:30. Well, obviously we're not going to do that anymore, but we're also putting 15 minutes. So I'm not adding 15 minutes. A 1 to 4 workout is now 1 to 3:45. The last 15 minutes is where my staff, who obviously is going to be getting paid during that time, is going to have a list. He said, like when you go into restaurants and they have those clipboards and you see how people sign in when they clean the bathroom or wipe the toilets, whatever they do, you're going to need to put those in your bathrooms, and you're going to need to put those at each event. So like, let's say you have, in the course of an evening, you have 4 workouts or 3 different workouts. You're going to need your coaches to sign that they, you know, those sprayers that you kind of, I don't know what they're called, that you do your weeds with or something like that. I bought like 4 of those, and we're going to keep 1 at each event. I know this sounds so bizarre, like whoever thought we'd be having a webinar on this tonight, you know, but we're going to keep that truce stuff in there. And after the work, after each of the training sessions, just spray down the equipment that was used and go over to where the kids keep their bags and their cubbies. That group walks out, you spray down the cubbies, because wiping them is unrealistic if you think you're going to go and hand wipe each one of them. So, you know, I'm trying to find time efficient, financial efficiency but make sure that I'm doing enough to satisfy the parents. I've already had a parent email me if their kid can wear a mask in the gym for training. You have no choice, obviously, but to say yes. And, you know, when they ask me some of these kind of petty things, are your coaches going to wear gloves? You know, I say the truth. Like if I'm not going to make them wear gloves, I'm going to say I'm not going to make them wear gloves, or you're going to get yourself in trouble. So the other thing I listened to was, it said people are either usually like way on that side where the earth is going to come to an end because of this. And then you have other people on this side that are like, oh, this is the flu, no big deal. And you have people in the middle. The people that are a little bit off the edge, they're probably not going to come back anyway, because they're going to see your gym as a bed of germs. So, you know, I think if you kind of try to make your decisions thinking about those 2 extremes of people, make your guidelines, stick to them. And if people choose not to come because you're not making your coaches wear gloves or masks or whatever, that's going to be their choice. I mean, when he went over all this stuff that we could potentially be doing in our gym, they would never do gymnastics. They would walk in the door, they'd take their shoes off, they'd put them in the bag, they go to the bathroom, they wash their hands, they get their little Ziploc bag. Yeah, I mean, we're doing some of this stuff, don't get me wrong, but you would end up with no gymnastics because everything would be about cleaning, wiping, and sanitizing. So that's just some insight that I listen to as much as I can, and then I take from it what I think fits my business.
So
Oh, you can go, Pat.
So someone just sent a question in the chat to me. She said, couldn't you live stream your classes to parents to avoid the amount of people in the gym? I have a 6,000 square foot facility, so all I can do is 2 coaches for safe sport rules, and maybe 6 to 8 or 10 kids max when first starting. And also, shouldn't each piece of equipment be cleaned between each child? So we have discussed this, and we do not plan on cleaning it between each child. It's unrealistic. I can't have someone do your chanko and then wipe down the vault table, and then it's slippery and the next kid goes, and or like, let's say someone gets on the bar and I like wipe the whole bar off and then I have to put the chalk back on, and like, it's just not going to work. So, but we have talked about doing potential mixing things up between online and in the gym. Like Lindsey was saying, like maybe having them do some strength and flexibility at home and then come in for some gymnastics. Or we also mentioned actually maybe like the parent and taught class, because it's pretty simple, you know. Maybe they do 2 classes at home and then they do 2 classes in the gym, and that way it lowers the traffic in the gym.
So I look at it like this, right? We all have the ability to go to the grocery store. And I know when I go to the grocery store, there is no one following me, wiping down the apple I pick up and then choose not to take with me. And then I go to the meat and I move this piece over here that's prepackaged, and no one comes and wipes that down after me. And you pick up a can of beans, and you put it back. And so I look at it kind of like that all of that is allowed. Then you get there and then you wait your 6 feet at the conveyor belt. And then that cashier has the choice, at least in Pennsylvania, to wipe down her area or not. And so I've been there where I load all my stuff on and the person behind there does not have a mask, and they check all my stuff out, and I walk out and they don't sanitize anything. And the next person does. And so I feel like, Pat, it's completely unrealistic for us to do that. And if we're operating in all of these stay-at-homes and the grocery stores are operating like that, which are quite frankly bigger cesspools in our gym, I feel fine with what Mary Lee said. I think we're more than overboard with cleaning. I think that's perfectly fine, you know. And I think that if you were to be held accountable to that, you'd have a leg to stand on with the grocery stores, the gun ranges, the liquor stores, the Walmart, Target. You have plenty of things to fall back on if you get into a legal situation where no one is following every single person around, wiping down everything they touch.
Great analogy. That was very good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have another question from Nicole. She asks, how many kids per session do you do online per coach? And also, do you send the workouts and the plans before the actual session? Good questions. Anyone?
We do that. We send it beforehand. What was the first part of it? How many kids? I guess we would have up to like maybe 40 kids. I did the Zoom package that does up to 100 attendees, and that's what we go by. So if the 9-10s are going together and that's a certain number of kids, we can get all of them in at the same time.
Anyone else want to chime in?
We're going by levels. So, you know, we'll have 2 or 3 different Zoom classes at a per hour, and each coach will be responsible for that hour and those kids. And we just will alternate the kids sometimes, or alternate the coaches sometimes to give, you know, different topics, that type of thing, just to cover basics. As far as sending it out, you know, normal workouts, again, through that band app, and then, you know, the coaches are responsible for what they're covering. The kids don't necessarily know what we're covering during the hour. It's a shaping or a balance beam complex, or conditioning basics, that type of thing. That's up to each of the individual coaches.
So we're grouping the levels 3, 4, 5s and the X-Cel bronze, silver, golds together. The level 2s are by themselves because a lot of them are very new, and they're a smaller group, and usually we thankfully have a couple of coaches on. The optionals are together, and right now the way we do it is I write all the programming, and the other coaches come in and help coach everything. And so you will usually have like 3 coaches, maybe sometimes 4 coaches on at once, and I'll kind of run it, and they'll watch the kids and correct them and make sure that they're doing what they need to be doing. We send out the workouts and all the information written down in the email to the parents and the kids, so they're aware of what's going on in advance. And if they can't make it, which is starting now because like school Zoom is starting, which is just weird to say, but school Zoom is starting, so it's getting in the way of gymnastics Zoom. And so at least the ones who can't make it, have the information they need. And sometimes, like if it's like maybe like a level 5, I'll let them join the level 6 one if it works out for them. You know what I mean? Like I want to make this as inclusive as possible to the kids, and I want it to be like the general like vibe is like we all want to be in this together. So I don't want to do something to make the kids like feel like oh no, you can't be a part of this. You know, like I'm trying to be as nice as I can about allowing people to participate as much as possible.
Okay, very good. What are your feelings about letting your students do other types of online training program, whether they want to do like a Zumba class or a CrossFit? Do you encourage it, or do you want them to just stay with the gymnastics? What are your opinions on that? Lindsey?
I encourage them to go for it. You know, anything to keep them active, keep them busy, keep them moving. It's their choice. You can't control it anyway, you know, but I wouldn't discourage it. No.
We gave all of our kids Gotham Gymnastics free program, and we were like, if you guys can like please do some dance and yoga and like Zoom, like please, for the love of God, please attend these classes. I'm with Mary Lee. If they want to take something else, cool. Have fun. My kids found some ballet stuff on YouTube, and they're so excited to show me. I'm like, absolutely. Let's have a whole class where you can show me what you learned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. Even the room behind me is 13 hours. My wife is a dance teacher, and she has 13 Zoom classes a week. And I know she's doing one for our team girls tomorrow morning, right in this room in front of this computer. So her legs are hurting because it's a hardwood floor. But she's a dancer, so she's tough like that. So, yeah, I think the kids are gonna blessed to have some diversity in there. I think even once it gets going, the kids will have a workout, especially with the lower numbers to start. I'm recommending dance and flexibility, something to give their symmetry a little bit tighter.
I
have a couple other fun ideas I wanted to share is that we've been doing exchanges. So like I have this one really good friend in Great Britain, and their dance teacher is doing a dance class, and we're teaching sports psych. And so we're doubling up the Zoom classes. We're doing some stuff with JC Phelps. And we're having like team contests where they have to hold handstands, and then we add up the time, and we're doing all kinds of fun stuff because you know what? I mean, first of all, if you've got 20 kids or whatever, and you're watching them on Zoom, you can only monitor so much. So, I mean, of course, we'd all like excellence all the time, but it's not realistic. I think totally on a Zoom class or anything else like that. But, you got to really like get creative. I know our kids are like so into this Zooming stuff and some of the different bizarre things that my daughter thinks up to do in these exchanges. But like, if you have a club that you guys are good buddies, get some different cross things going of contests, games, and that's been a lot of fun as far as keeping the kids engaged.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea. I can't wait to incorporate it. One of the things we do is we sometimes if I find something that I like want the kids to take part in, I'll include it like in the email. I'll be like, hey, if you have extra time, check this out. Or like Lindsey was saying about like the ballet on YouTube, like I was like, hey guys, this is now going to be a part of your warm up every day, and like or like check this out. Like for actually one of the things I gave the kids as homework on one of their off days for the lower levels was to watch the 1996 Olympics playlist.
Fun.
And then send us a picture of them watching it, and then we posted it.
We did something similar. We've been doing Facebook and Instagram challenges every week, and the parents can send that in. So this week is our 1% better, and they were challenged to come up with how did they get 1% better during the quarantine. So a lot of them have, I can hold my handstand longer, I can do more presses, I can do more pull-ups, I can do more leg lifts, my splits are down flatter, things like that. So we've been doing weekly challenges for everyone that we post on social media for them, featuring them. And that seems to be going a long way as well. But I'm going to steal Mary Lee's idea and start doing some inner gym stuff.
Watch out, we're coming for you.
It's almost like
we're going to challenge you.
Inner gym competitions, like
right.
Contests and stuff like that. I think that's actually a wonderful idea. Maybe even post them in the competitions on the Zoom.
Yeah.
Real quick, I've been talking to some manufacturers of gymnastics equipment, and of course, there has been a rise in sales. You know, people are buying, like we said, tumble tracks, outdoor trampolines with the weather, balance beams, bars. Do you incorporate any of those equipment in your training while on your Zoom sessions, and do you encourage it or not?
I don't, because I know people don't have it. I use lines. I do so we do some stuff with like floor rails, or we'll say do things with like anything you can find that weighs about 5 pounds, you know, things of that nature. Sorry, the dogs. But I don't really include any of the equipment. One of the other things that I heard, hey, sorry, on the webinar was to make your gym look as empty as possible. So like while you're cleaning and painting and doing all these things, you know, to if there's any junk equipment, any stuff that bad mats you don't really want or use or shouldn't be using, get rid of them. Because you want to be able to have kids obviously in these lines standing distances apart, but you want to make your gym look as spacious no matter what square footage you have. Try to spread things out, or they were saying, one guy said they usually have 8 beams and he's cutting down to 6 and they're just going to push 2 together. Just different things like that that are going to make people feel more comfortable than having their kids like on top of each other.
Lindsey, what about you? Do you encourage any home equipment? I know I've told all my girls to try to get a floor beam, small ones, and floor bars.
Yep. We're definitely not discouraging it. So we put out a survey to all of our kids based on what they had, and they gave us a list of what they had. And then I'm working in smaller groups. We're working in their training groups. So I'm not working in a group bigger than 10. So every workout is tailored to them based on what they have. And then, so like if you look at like a Tuesday for the level 10s, they have conditioning, flex, and then our event training, right? So they're on there for like 2.5 hours. Then day number 2, Wednesday, they're only on there for the conditioning and flex, and they have their at-home assignments. And at that point, they can be using whatever they have. So if they have a bar they can do handstands on, they're doing cast handstands and drop kicks, while kid B might be doing only handstand drills. Or if they have a trampoline. So that's kind of how we're doing that. I did recommend actually for all of my parents, if they could, to get some sort of air track. And then we manufactured floor bars for them. And then most of them had bungees already and weights. I was surprised with the number of kids that had actual weights to be using. I was shocked, but that was really wonderful. And they almost all had beams. So we give them that assignment as well. So whatever they feel like they can do, we pretty much just say, whatever you've been doing safely at your house already, meaning we're not instructing them that they have to do anything. And if they would like to send us an email with a video of something they've been doing, like if they want a handspring lay on their training beam at home, cool. Send me a video, I'll critique it. No big deal, but no one's required. And so that's kind of how I'm getting around, you know, Sally broke her arm.
Hey, what about you, Pat or Craig? Any equipment at the homes?
Yeah, I told most of the kids, we just simple things. I sent out information on where they could find parallettes, bands, weights, and sliders. And I said, I want you guys to have all this just for conditioning purposes. And then a lot of the kids actually had floor bars already. I sent out information on how to make parallettes and how to make floor bars. And a lot of the kids had beams as well. And if they don't have beams, I just tell them to create a line with like tape or something like that. And like Lindsey was saying, like if the kids have more, I'll be like, okay, so you're going to try this, this, and this. And if you don't have that, then you're going to be doing this instead. Like she said, like maybe some kids will be doing cast handstands, and then the other kids with the floor bar, maybe they're just working their drop for the circle from a straddle up to handstand.
Yeah, I think it's been nice to be able to break down some skills with whatever they do have at home. Even the jumping candlestick on the bed for giants, those are the little ideas that are coming up. I know I was telling the panel that we have a dad that has 3 daughters at home. They actually have a high bar, strap bar in their backyard now, cemented into the ground, and they are doing front giants, they're doing alders, they're doing toe hands, back giants, all in strap bar. So the range is out there, I'm sure. Just keeping the kids safe is probably my number one thing, and trying to just utilize what the kids have and not hold anybody accountable if they don't. There's a line on the floor, so that's your beam today. Be creative.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I agree. I've made it mandatory to have like, things like sliders, TheraBands, small weights,
Yoga
floor
ball.
bar, floor beam, so it's nice. A pull-up bar. I mean, they're not that expensive. Parallettes are great, but for some reason, Amazon.com's running out of them. I've actually been having a hard time getting parallettes, good ones, I mean, not the cheap plastic ones that fall over or are angled. You don't want those. So real quick, another question I've noticed is, and this is kind of interesting because when I was at National Camp, Arthur Copian had told me a great story about how much conditioning to do or to kind of minimize your conditioning and just focus on certain core areas, that actually really translate to gymnastics. I know Dr. Sands has written and talked about that much too. So is your conditioning geared specifically for skills in gymnastics, or do you do more of an overall conditioning with like cardio and stretching and all different types of weights and other items?
We alternate days, and this is whether we're doing home training or at the gym. So we have circuit training, which is where you do all of the different events. So like one circuit is for skill specific bars, one's for beam, one's for floor, one's for vault. And then on the opposite day, we have traditional whole body conditioning, which has a lot of fitness. And then it goes from cardio to legs to core to upper body to your active flex. So, even like whether it's level 3s, level 8s, level 10s, like it's a system that's in the gym. So then if you have enough systems in your gym, which I'm sure most of you do, when they go to do this in-home training, they know that as I create my own conditioning, we always start with cardio and then we do this. And on the other day we do circuits and it's skill specific. So I don't really personally know, there's so many different philosophies on conditioning and so on and so forth, that I just think as long as you come up with a system and you feel like it's protecting your kids and it's working and you're hitting all the muscle groups. And obviously when you're in season, we do much more skill specific injury prevention. But here now for JO kids, we're going into summer season, off season. And now I would be doing a little more whole body, adding a little bit more weights, doing a little bit higher reps, heavy duty stuff, and then taper. I mean, those are just the basic philosophies. So if you can mirror what you do in your gym and or what you would be doing at this time of the year, with a little bit of increase, because it's a lot easier to do conditioning and flexibility at home than it is to do skill development. And we all know that when they come back, it's going to be about fitness, conditioning, and basics and root skills. I mean, that's what it's going to be and should be, because if you go back and you start chucking, you're going to end up with injuries.
Thank you, Mary Lee. Anyone else? Pat?
Yeah. So we have like kind of a skill or sport specific theme of the day. So for instance, maybe it would be like presses or handstands or dynamic flexibility or something. And that's usually the first like half hour of our workout, or 45 minutes, depending on how well they're doing at it. And but I have a large background in weightlifting. And so I have the kids mix it up between doing sport specific and general strength stuff. And the kids have noticeably gotten stronger and just in general, and also with like their shapes, they've gotten more flexible. And like it's really rewarding to see like the difference these kids are showing just over these Zoom workouts. I mean, who would have thought, And it's also nice that we are at the point of the year that we're at where it is acceptable to be doing more general strength work and more fitness stuff, because like, I mean, it's really ideal for the situation. I mean, it wouldn't be very nice if we were in the middle of the season and we had to do all this sport specific stuff and we have no one has it at their home, And so a lot of our kids have the general fitness equipment at home. And so we've been able to be very creative with how they're implementing it.
Yes, Lindsey.
I think that they covered a lot of great things. The only thing that I would want to add, I talked to Ian Kreider. He's kind of like a new gymnastics specific PT, and our own in-house PT. The only thing I would just add on to that we're doing is really making sure that we're addressing the mobility and strength of the joints. So I asked him, what would be your biggest concern going back into the gym? This was like way back. And his first thing was ankles. He said, you need to protect their ankles. They need to be able to be ready to take a landing, take a short landing, especially because they haven't done anything. They're going to be far more apt to make new mistakes. So really focusing on the joints, the mobility, and the prehab. So we've been adding a lot of prehab into our workouts for all of those things. You know, and you can go to your own PT that you guys have at that you go to through your gym. If you have a PT that comes into your gym or one that you just recommend for the kids, I think that everyone's willing to share right now. Or just finding somebody online that you know and trust. There's a Perfect 10, I want to say Brandy Smith.
That's correct, Brandy Smith.
She's really good, and she puts out good content. There's just a lot of people that put out really great content that you can be doing for the shoulders, the wrists, the knees, the elbows, the ankles, to make sure that when they get back, they're mobile and protected.
I mean, that's an excellent point, especially for athletes who were slightly injured or suffering some problems and everything before we actually went into quarantine. This is actually an excellent time for them. One of my athletes actually got injured doing a bail. Unfortunately, you know, dislocated her elbow and needed time to heal before the competition season. And I actually jokingly told her, you've actually healed faster than the nation has on the COVID-19, because now she's, you know, back to normal, and now she's working on the PT and getting her range of motion. And, you know, originally she was so devastated because she thought she'd miss her season. And now I'm like, your season's not going to be until 2021. You got plenty of time to, you know, get in top shape and prepare. So, yeah, it's definitely a plus for those athletes who really need it. Another athlete of mine said, Coach John, I've conditioned more than I've ever done in my life in the gym. This is amazing. And you can actually see the results. The girls are getting stronger. They're more flexible, especially the ones who are actually doing it. Because as Lee said, you can't watch everyone. And there's always going to be those girls who do a little less or their form's not as good. But the ones who really do push themselves, the ones who are really doing the assignments and the challenges, I notice a difference. You can actually see it. And we've only been, 1 month? And you see that difference, and you know that's going to help them in the long term.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing and that they don't have to be the same gymnast and the same attitude that they were with. Right now, the social distancing is also making those kids do their individual workout by themselves, and they have a chance to hold themselves accountable to their conditioning and their level of conditioning. So if they're really working on the details, it's going to show up. And if, let's say, they were the crier in the gym, they don't have to come back and be the crier. You know, if they're the jokester, well, you probably got a little bit more serious during this time, so maybe you'll come back a little more serious. So I'm looking forward to the return, that's for sure. We'll see how tough these kids are. That might be one of the other things too, is that, you know, when they jump on that bar for the first time and they feel the weight of their grip, you know, and they go, wow, my hands are really sore. You know, they might find out how tough they used to be and go, wow, I was pretty tough because this didn't bother me before. You know?
Okay, we have another question from Nicole again. She's asking, when dealing with the recreational classes, how are you dealing with them? Are you focusing more on strength and conditioning because of their lower level of skills? How do you keep them engaged? How are you keeping them, you know, wanting to come back week after week? Anyone?
Yeah, I can speak to that because we're running a lot of rec online. We're attacking it the same way. So, you know, we don't run our recreational classes congruent with USAG. So for us, a level 3 is learning how to back bend to the floor. So they're getting on their knees, they're going to a wall, and they're working on their back bend, and then they're standing by the wall, they're walking down the wall, then they're walking back up. They're stacking some couch cushions and doing some back bends to the couch cushions. So we're trying to keep their skill level up just like that. I have found that we're really targeting our preschool and our low level rec, our upper level rec that we're like tumbling for real. They're a little bit harder to reach, and our numbers are not as high with those kids. But we're making sure that we start with a really fun, high energy dance warm up every time, that pulls them in, that makes them want to come in. And then the coaches are doing different things every day. So I have one coach, and her gimmick is every day she shows up, she's in a new costume. So one day she dressed up like a mermaid, and then the next day, like, so she's got 4 kids. She's going through all their Halloween costumes, and she's showing up for class every week in a new costume. And so that's going a long way. The teachers that are really artsy or dancey, they're bringing a new picture. Some teachers are finding a funny video on YouTube, and that's how they're starting the class. So the kids are looking forward to this super funny video. Lots of gimmicks like that. Simon Says games, scavenger hunts. We sent home some coloring pages so that all the kids could come and show, look what I drew today, or look what everyone's drawing the same thing in the same class. But I think that was the benefit of creating individual classes, and that's what's pulling them back. And I think that's why I'm seeing my recreational numbers grow online. And then they're making that same kind of connection with their teacher it's weird, through a weird online relationship, but it's still happening. So I think that using your coach's strengths and letting them, just go full out as to who they are is going to get those kids to come in to your classes.
Those are good points. Anyone else, real quickly? We have a few more minutes before we wrap everything up. Okay, so another question that I'd like to address is, since we've all been doing online coaching for probably well over a month now, are there some things that you did early on and do not do anymore, or some things that you found that didn't work or you would not recommend for anyone who is starting an online program?
I just think the biggest thing is you've got to keep it alive, and you've got to change, and it's got to be spicy, because I know that we need a lot of ritualistic conditioning and a lot of things like that, but that's why mixing in some of these games and contests and sports psych and dance, and having a guest speaker come in, like if one of your alumni is in town. We did that one time because a lot of our college kids are home, and we had a little Q&A with them. I mean, I just feel like it's not so much I would have do different at the beginning as I have to keep inspiring my staff and fueling them with ideas to keep it alive. And I feel for those of you that do have another, month or 2 months of this, because it's hard. And, it's hard for kids to be motivated, I feel, in their house without their teammates. The Zoom helps, but it's still different than being next to people and feeling the inspiration. So I think change is always, kids are so used to technology where they just press buttons and it's a different picture and it's a different this. So Lindsey, you had some great stuff, I feel, for recreational classes, and obviously not to the kiddish part of it, but you got to be doing the same type of creativity with your team kids if you have to keep this going on for a while.
Yeah, I think one of the early on things, and John, you might be able to speak to this too, is, as the kids were doing the first Zoom classes, they were trying to find their space, but they were pretty comfortable in their gymnastics wear. And I noticed one of the things that we've done is it's their gymnastics time. They're in a leotard. They're in something that, with tights or biker shorts. They stand up before as they would in front of a lineup, and we're going to give. This is what we're going to be working on. So a little bit more normalcy for the team kids, that they're standing feet together, arms down and chins up, as instead of sitting there in their messy sweats, just laying on the side of their bed or something like that, ready to work out. Make it a little bit more structured than it was at the beginning, because we were just trying to come up with ideas. Now I think we're a little bit tighter with our team kids. They wear their Friday leotard today. That's what we did, so all the kids look the same on the screen. So basically, that's one thing we've tightened up on since the beginning.
Yes, Pat.
So I totally agree with Mary Lee. Keeping it fresh and changing things is something we do a unique workout every single day. We do not repeat things. and we try to build off of the previous week's concepts. So really, I mean, it is hard. Like on Saturday, it's like so I don't do them on Saturday. So Saturday, I just write all day long, and I'm like just trying to find new inspiration, new ideas, new things to keep the kids engaged. Like John said, I know he posted some of his challenges in the Gymnastics Coaches Skills and Drills Forum. So I would check those out. We've been using some of those, and it's really cool. The kids love doing it. We highlight like the winner of the day, and it's a nice way to like celebrate them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we are going to be closing down since it has passed our 1 hour. So real quick to the panelists, a couple of quickies. Your Zoom gymnast, leotard or what they want to wear?
We actually said no leotard. We have them in a tank top that tucks into their pants. And the reason actually is not for us. It's because through these Zoom calls, we're all going into each other's homes. And I think we have to be acutely aware of not just who's on the screen, but who could walk through the screen at any time.
We have a choice. I don't require anything.
I do not require anything either. If they're wearing something inappropriate, I'll tell them to change it.
Craig?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a leotard or something.
Okay, good.
We can see body lines, that type of thing.
Right, something secure, snug. One of my biggest pet peeves is when they wear a loose shirt and then it falls over their head when they're doing a handstand. So I always tell them to tuck their shirts in and make sure they're form-fitting. So we want to really do that. Real quick, if anyone wants to just give a final word on what they would love to see as a result of all this online training from their athletes in a couple words, I'd love to hear that, and then we can close out. Anyone? Lindsey, you want to go first?
I think the biggest thing we're gaining, I feel like the biggest thing that not just my athletes, but my coaches, I feel our relationships are better. The communication is better. I feel like people are talking to each other. I mean, this is almost like a phone call versus a text, and it's like FaceTime almost. And I think you see people's emotions and how they feel about things. I know that we're doing Zoom sessions for our coaches, and instead of just educating them, they're bringing the education to the table. So some of the stuff for coaches we didn't really talk about, but I do feel like this time, like ours are required to turn in something each week, and we compile it, blah, blah, blah. But, coaches, like this week was flexibility, active and passive. So they all had to submit something that we then share with everybody, because in the future, we want to come out of this with people being able to have the skill to find the stuff themselves instead of you always supplying all the information. And same with the kids, like we'll have kids do the same things in the gym. But I feel we're going to come out of this a stronger, closer team.
I would say that our mission is no podium required and 1% better. So what I want to see my team and my coach come out with is that we don't need a podium to want to be better, to want to be our true best every day. We're going to earn that first place in our heart and not on the award stand. That's just the extra gravy. And that when we walk out of this, we're all 1% better. The kids figured out something they got better at, and the coaches are hopefully a little bit better at I think this is making everyone a way better teacher. Like I really do think that. I think that coaching in America is going to get a lot better. I think we're going to see a lot more innovation, and we're going to see a huge improvement across the whole country from the coaching staff. I think that's super exciting. But no podium required, 1% better. That's what I want.
I think if anything, the kids are going to be listening a little bit more intently, because they have to listen. And the individual independence, or that a little bit of accountability that they stuck with while they're at home in their own house by themselves with no social pressure, I think they're going to be a lot more independent workers out there, and they're seeing the benefits. And if anything they can take back, they're going to be better gymnasts that way.
I think that the coaches are going to be better coaches that are more creative, who are going to have learned how to use methods and things they've never done before, and found ways to look for things they might not have seen before. I think that the athletes, like Craig just said, I think they're going to be a little bit more, hopefully, proud and responsible of their work. I mean, of course, it's going to be easier when you can't put them all on mute, but but I think also that the athletes and the coaches will have more of a bond because we all kind of came together during this time, and I think it's going to mean something.
Those are all excellent points. Real quick, once again, I want to thank our wonderful panel, Pat, Craig, Mary Lee, Lindsey, 4 wonderful regions, 4 amazing coaches for sharing all their experience with everyone here. Once again, I want to thank all the people who joined us for this live Zoom session. And real quick, next week, we'll be discussing strategies and techniques for returning our gymnasts to the gymnastics training. Our guests will be Mary Wright, Olivia Estes, Steve Arkell, and Craig Zappa. So please join us next Friday, 8 p.m. for that session as well. And once again, thank you so much to our panelists and have a great night. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye, Lindsey. Bye, Mary. Bye, Pat.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
See you,
Stay
John. Thanks.
healthy.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you, John.
Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, John.
Have a good night.
John,
Good
great
night.
job.
I'm just going to shut us down.